off dead on 11:11. Welcome everybody to those who have made the effort to come along, and for those who are probably going to watch this after. It's exciting to have you all here. So I'm just going to get started on the purpose of doing this little live video. Part of it is like a personal experience of getting clearer about presenting, which is really cool. And the other part is that I've been doing the new moon readings and the full moon readings for a couple of years now, probably about 3 or 4, quite a lot longer than I realised, I think. And it's been a really interesting journey of getting clearer and clearer about why it is that I'm doing this. And so what I'm going to do essentially today is open this up to be an interactive environment, because there's so much that can be gained from talking with people, and for someone to be able to ask, what does this mean, and get some clarity. So today's new moon is in Aries, and the Aries energy is an interesting one because it's quite a powerful time, this new moon. It's Aries energy is the beginning. We're literally at the beginning of our new year, energetically and in terms of the astrological cycle. And one of the things that I've been working with is natural cycles with a business coach of mine called Natalie Kent, who has Sacred Business, and it's pretty powerful stuff. And so this is a kind of an opportunity to step into the new moon, the new cycle, starting this series and starting the new moon, and recognizing also too that this new moon time is the best time to set your intentions. Full moons are great for clarity and closing, but new moons are really good for creating new stuff. So there's a really powerful process that can be stepped up to in the next, I think they say 48 hours after the new moon is exact. I originally thought that the new moon was going to be exact at about 10 minutes past 1 this morning, or 10 minutes past 12 this morning, but no, I was very wrong. It's actually about 5 minutes or 3 minutes to 2 this afternoon in Australia, Queensland time. That's Australian Standard Time. That's not taking into consideration daylight savings. So so it's a really good opportunity to step up and have a good look at where you want to go and what you want for the year. And I guess for me, the reason for doing this, and I got to be sort of like quite transparent about this. This is the beginning of my new year as well. My new year in business, my new year in getting started on where it is I want to be within the next 12 months. And so a part of that is becoming more visible and more out there. So stepping up to do this video series every new moon is a new process for me. And so starting it today is the perfect time to kick off my intentions to make this happen. So it's going to be pretty cool. So thank you so much for everybody joining, Tara in the US and Jody down in Melbourne. And anybody else who's going to be watching this video after, it's going to be, so you've got any questions, happy to answer a few of them after the call. I'll post this up on my blog as well, so that my website will have that available for people to see too. So I'm just going to kick off. Let's be one more little thing I've got to cover off too. Aries, beginning of the series. It's also Martian energy. It's very powerful, very fiery, and we're actually at the time of a whole new cycle of really, really intense, powerful energy. So it's a really good time to kick that off. So I won't go on any further. I'm just going to kick off. So I'm going to draw a card. So I actually have a question now. Does anybody have anything in particular that they wanted to sort of cover off today? Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask afterwards? Just post them in the chat. Tara, do you know how to use Zoom? Just put a thumbs up or nod your head. You know how to use it? Wonderful. Great. Okay, so you know where the chat system is. So cool. Has anybody got any questions about new moons, full moons? No, you're good with that? You know what about the processes? So, okay, cool. All right, well, I'm just going to draw a card. So with these videos, I don't know, Tara, if you've ever seen one of these, but I just draw a card. It's quite random, and it goes with the energy that we're all dealing with. This is a collective energy, and what I'm getting is to stop talking. Kick it off. Gotta laugh. Can't take myself too seriously. See? Here we go. It's actually called Turning In. So essentially what's going to happen with this card, or what I want to do with this, is just go into what we're going to be dealing with for the next little while, in probably about 6 months, I reckon, but certainly right now, is there's going to be lots of voices hearing us. We're going to hear lots and lots of going on around us. We're going to have lots of people talking to us and giving their perspectives. But we're also going to be dealing with the projections that might come from other people and other aspects, and just be really aware that when you find that time to tune in, you might start hearing lots and lots of voices in your head, different perspectives, different points of view, different ways of doing things. And the purpose of this particular card is reminding us that we actually need to be as still as the water that this woman is sitting on, the calmness. We need to be the lake, says Jody. So one of Jody's energies is being clear around being the stillness of the lake. So it's quite a beautiful and timely card to recognize that we're going to have lots going on around us. A lot is going to really challenge us. And we'll start questioning, and that questioning can be really distracting. It can make it very difficult for us to get clear. And so we need to create the time to create the stillness and listen only to ourselves, tuning in to ourselves, or turning into ourselves and tuning out the external. And that can be incredibly challenging in this incredibly busy time that we live in. We live in a world that is just so fraught with social media that comes at us 100 million miles an hour, and that's not even scratching the surface of what really, really, really happens for us. It's quite intense. So just to be super, super aware that this is what we're dealing with, and now's the time to tune in and find that stillness within. So I don't know if you're into anything in particular in terms of holding mantras. You can see here the woman is holding her hand in a particular format. It's the fingers of one hand resting in the palm of the other hand and touching her thumbs together. Bringing your thumbs together is a really powerful mudra. It's actually a way of bringing our thumbs represent our will. So what it's doing is balancing the will of the masculine and the feminine, our thinking and our feelings. So if we sit in meditation and hold our hands very gently, resting your fingers in the palm of the other hand, what you'll find is when you bring your thumbs together, and you do a meditation, even if it's for 5 minutes, just breathing in deeply and back out again, what you'll find is that actually will balance the meridians of the masculine and feminine thinking, feeling side of your brain. So it's a really powerful process to do when you sit in meditation, even if you only get to your meditation for 5 minutes. So, okay, so I'm going to put the card down, and Jody's asked a question, so I'm just going to respond. Oh my God, that's the mudra I always use. That is so cool. So this is a really powerful thing to do. So Tara, I don't know if you're aware that I do psychosomatic therapy. It's a powerful process of body-mind awareness. And what I'm going to do is, what you do is you hold your hands like this. It's really beautiful, and put them in your lap. And it's a really beautiful cyclic process of sitting in meditation and calming yourself. And when you put your thumbs together, it's a powerful experience of balancing the will of the mind and the will of the feeling. So, excellent, good to know. So you know about it. That's good to hear. So Tara's just responded saying Chris Knight in Brisbane was one of her therapists with psychosomatics. So, and he's a brilliant teacher. So definitely part of the amazing psychosomatic community. So, okay. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask or put forward about this particular reading, and if they want to get in clarity? So I'm just going to take you off mute, everybody. And does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
I'm just going to pop my little hand up. Sorry, can you hear me? I know you said
yes.
Sort of cutting up.
Yeah.
I'm hot spot at the moment, so I might be pressing my luck. Astrologically, I am a Gemini with Aries rising and Aries moon, so I carry a lot of this energy that's coming through right now.
Yeah.
So I suppose for me, in terms of clarification, what I'd ideally like a bit of guidance on during this time is, well, how do I, it's been very good at destroying lots of bits of my life, but how do I harness this for the good? Because, yeah, like you said, it's the first sign, you know, in the wheel of signs. Yeah. And yeah, look, from my work with Chris, I am really, really good at embodying all the masculine elements of things. So I find it very interesting to be a little bit more aware of all of this now, and go, oh, okay, well, here we are, new moon in Aries, which is one of my sort of natal signs. You know, I'm what do they call that? A native to the Aries sign. Mm-hmm. And I think Mars rules Gemini as well. So with all this Mars energy, this is like, ooh, so this should be a really good time for me. I know enough to be dangerous. I feel like I don't know enough to harness it. So that's my question in my very rambling way of putting it forward. Sorry, Jody. And I'm a life path 4, by the way, so don't think that none of that was missed.
No, excellent. Okay, so what I'm getting basically is the reason for this card is that there's a part of you that actually needs to learn to tune into those other aspects of yourself. And because you can be so powerful in the masculine and powerful in the Aries Mars energy, it's very challenging for you to slow down and tune in. You know, so it's actually if you can look to create at the beginning of this new cycle a daily practice of, you know, sitting down for 2 minutes when you either first get out of bed or after you shower, you know, and make sure that you try and keep it as simple as possible in a time of the day that is going to be conducive to you, when you know that you don't have anything else to do. Even if you can sit down for 2 minutes and just focus on your breath, and listen to your voices. Listen to them and see just how distracting they are, and just go, okay, cool, I can hear you, thank you. Because this is a part of that power of our mind that looks to override the intuitive part of ourselves. So what I hear in this image here, can you imagine? This is our mind. La, 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 going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So when we listen to that, it actually wants to be acknowledged before you can move it into another place. So it's rather than saying, fuck off, leave me alone, I don't want to be disturbed. It's more like, okay, I hear you, thank you. Can we discuss this later? Can I have 2 minutes of peace, please? And the mind goes, oh, all right then, I can do that. So can I come back in yet? And you go, no, but I will come back to you later, thank you. So there's a part of us that actually doesn't acknowledge the internal dialogue, and we want to dismiss it and we don't. So what we need to do is actually, we need to acknowledge it. I'll reframe what I just said then. We want to dismiss it. We don't listen to it, and we don't acknowledge it for the aspect of the power that it has in our world that is valid and vital, but it's not the ruler of our direction. Does that make sense? So that with that card, that's actually really quite powerful when you've explained to me having so much Mars energy. Just to understand, I think the only ruler of Gemini is actually Mercury. The other energy that Mars is in is actually Scorpio. So Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, and Aries is ruled by Mars only. So there's a couple that have two energies in them. So you have an Aries moon and a Aries rising, did you say? Right, yeah. So you got a double whammy of extra. So what else is in Aries for you?
Shit, if I knew where my chart was at the moment, I could.
Don't look. We won't go into it. You can. I was just curious because if you've got that much power, then harnessing it and slowing yourself down without trying to stop the the motion forward completely, because otherwise it's like stopping a freight train. There's all this weight coming in behind it that's just going to slam up and then build and knock over. So we don't want to do that. What we're going to do is like slow the freight train right down without trying to block anything, so that you actually harness it and move forward. So, if you're going at 100 miles an hour, you can do an awful lot with it, but you can also, as you said, do a lot of damage with it too. But if you slow the freight train down to a point of being just slow enough that you get what you need, but you've still got the power behind you, you've got more control over it. So that's the harnessing. So the whole point of maybe doing the turning in for 2 minutes a day, as best you can, to create a daily practice, which is really challenging to do because I'm great at it and then I'm shite at it. So one time I'm brilliant, and then, and it goes for 2 or 3 weeks, and then another time it's like, gone. So I'm up and down as well, and it's not easy to create. But once you start to do it, it can easily be done. And it's you'll be surprised at how big that space gets naturally, So 2 minutes of just listening and saying thank you. And you'll be, and always walk in and into your meditation when you sit down and just go, thank you, mind. I know that you know how to keep me safe, but right now I just need 2 minutes of stillness, and then we'll come back. And then sure enough, bit by bit, that time gets larger and you can harness it more naturally without fighting yourself as well, because that's the internal thing, the internal dialogue fight that comes up for us. Okay. Does that make sense? Cool.
Yes, and it's a repeated message for me. So when things are repeated, they're important. So, all right, universe, I hear you.
Yeah, well done. I think that's a challenge too for most of us, to recognise that there's a message that comes through that we don't always want to listen to, but it comes to us for a reason. And when we get it, it's like, I want something new and different. Yeah, sorry, not going to happen. So that's really cool. Well, thank you, Tara. That's excellent. So,
thanks.
Okay, Jody, do you have any questions?
Well, not a question so much.
Yep.
It's more about, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're really clear.
Yep. It's more matching the card to my new room.
Oh, wow.
Visually. So if you hold that card up, I want to hold up a photo of my new room.
Oh my gosh.
With the pink over the blue.
Oh my Lord, isn't that fantastic? So you're really right on track, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. That's just amazing. I love that. The synchronicities and the things that we do to drop in together, like with ourselves. It's brilliant.
Absolutely.
That is awesome. That is so fantastic. How cool is that? Brilliant.
And I just wanted to mention too that I was talking to Linda last night, sitting under my canopy, and this all just happened yesterday, Tara. Just to fill you in, I've been remaking my space. It used to be an office, as in with a big desk in the centre of it, and very masculine. And I've cleared out the office and put in this new couch and made the canopy yesterday to go over the top of it. And I was sitting in the canopy talking to her, and I felt different. I felt like it was only at the sides of me. It wasn't all around me, but there was a completely different feeling. It was a little bit like a halo, like a pyramid, like an energy encapsulation bubble. I don't know. I don't quite know what, how to put it into words other than that, but there was a different feeling about it, and there was a stillness. And I came to the conclusion while I was talking to her, I said, like, I've created that now I need to grow into. And now that my room is different, I have to be different in my room. And so this is moving away from that very masculine way that I've been operating for such a long time to, as soon as I walk into that space now, I feel softer and I feel more relaxed and just a bit more chilled. And this has happened just in the last couple of weeks, and basically come together yesterday in time for the new moon today.
That's fantastic.
And a whole, it feels like, even though I've not been aware of it before, but it feels now like this next 12 months is going to be completely different than what has come before. So, and the fact that mudra is exactly the same as what I use, that's like, I just did that and I didn't even know that was a mudra until I found out ages ago. But, I just was automatically doing it.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's so fantastic. So, okay, Tara's just asked, made a comment saying, I've just moved house in the last 2 weeks. I'm having the exact same feeling about new home space. Oh, that is wonderful, Tara. I'll just unmute you because there's only 2 of us or 3 of us sitting here. So there's no need to worry about 15 people trying to speak at once. So I'm going to ask you a question as well, Tara. What else do you feel you could create or do that harnesses more of the feminine rather than the masculine, so that you've got more of a balance? What do you feel would be something you could create?
That is the question of my life since 2012, when I started working with Chris, and he's like, right, here's your problem from a spiritual perspective. Out of whack. And he didn't say it that way, of course. He said it much more elegantly and with precision. But the heart of the matter was, you are running way too much masculine energy, and that explains a lot energetically why things have happened to you the way they have. Okay.
Yeah.
And so certainly one of my intentions for this year, and particularly in being in this space, and there is a wee little backstory there that might be worth exploring, is to embody a more feminine nature. I don't exactly know how to do that because I never sort of thought of it as being anything different than my very own nature, and until sort of the last 4 years of my life, when it was brought to my attention through a series of events, and went, oh, yeah, okay, how do I do that? I suppose, like I said, being a little bit aware and using the last 4 years has certainly been an awakening for me. There are things that I'm doing that are quite intentional in nature to help me connect into those centers that are more feminine, I suppose. So, e.g., I'm bringing a lot of sort of warm coral colors into my home for the sacral chakra, but equally a lot of green for the heart chakra, because to me those are 2 deeply, deeply feminine chakra centers. Not that any of them are masculine or feminine, but I also know that they're certainly, my sacral chakra appears to still be a little bit on walkabout, but I know that those are 2 energy centers for me that I need to give some attention to. I working with some essential oils that help, that I sort of looked at their more spiritual and magical metaphysical properties, and as I said to a girlfriend of mine, I created what I thought was going to be my feminine embodiment blend, or my divine feminine blend, and it ended up being a little bit of va-va-va-voom, and I thought, well, who's to say that that's not divine feminine? But it ended up being a little bit more powerful than I thought it was going to be.
Brilliant. Well, nothing quite like the Martian energy to drive it forward, so to speak, because it's got a very powerful energy.
Yeah.
So,
so I suppose just at the moment, with using what I know to be more conscious, and even like little decisions that I make, like, okay, well, what colors am I going to have in my beige on beige house? I'm going to have coral because it's soft. I think orange is a bit too harsh. And for me, one thing about feminine embodiment is soft. And that's the thing that whenever I sort of do try to tune in, that drops in is soft, soft, soft. Like, all right, soft, soft. I find myself now in these 4 years in this very, very soft body. So I'm aware that there's probably a message in that too. But I suppose just taking my knowledge and using it to make myself be intentional with what I do, even down to little things like I'm going to have orange cushions. I've got a green bookshelf and whatnot. But just on Jodie's topic about what she's done in her room, don't mind me walking with the laptop. I just want to show you my room. This is my bedroom. And this is what I've done, and it makes me feel very different. When I'm in, can you see?
I love fairy lights.
Wow. Well, that is fantastic, Tara. It's gorgeous.
So they're 3 meters, and when they were hung for me, my stepdad hung them for me. He said, these are going to go wall to wall in your room. And I wasn't home at the time, and I went, oh, holy shit, have I just hung the sun in my bedroom? And he went, well, you might have done. But when I actually got them plugged in, there was such a beautiful, soft golden light. And the light is very soft, and it's golden, and I'm just really quite pleased with how that came out. And so when Jodie was talking about how sitting in that space, in that canopy she created, how she felt different, like you could feel a shift. That's how I feel when I go into my bedroom. And I was saying to friends at work today, I don't want to leave. That's my favorite room in my 614 square feet, which is tiny, by the way. I love it so much, and I like how I feel in there. And I think some of it is probably because that light is so soft, and maybe that's starting to help me shift a little bit too.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. I think that's a really key thing, is putting the softness deliberately into your life, because I really appreciate what you're saying. I used to hold a lot of powerful masculine energy as well, and I used to be really, really, really angry, and that masculine energy would drive forward, and that was and completely dismissing my feminine in many ways. So I really appreciate what you're saying about holding so much masculine. Then where is it that we actually look to create the feminine? And actually about back in 2013, I decided quite distinctly to step into my feminine and refuse to wear trousers. So I wore skirts. I still do really only wear skirts. However, recently I've come across a part of me that is recognizing that,
Because I'm trying to, be also more conscious being spiritual in my life, because that was a part of my life that I had abandoned in entirety for a long time. I think I've been sort of giving myself a hard time about other ways of embodying feminine by being trying to be more physically feminine, and I thought, well, that's not spiritual, but I've grown my nails out.
Lovely.
And I go and manicure every 2 weeks, to make sure it's in my budget. I've got $25 for a manicure.
Yeah.
But to me, that feels very ladylike, but it doesn't feel very divine, I suppose.
It's got to start somewhere, and it is, I think that the fact that you're even willing to step up to that and willing to look at it and willing to, and it's like the meditation process. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, okay? So we've got about 10 minutes left maximum, so we'll go till the end of it, and then but so basically, it's a slow process. And like I said to you earlier, there's a 2 minute, get started with 2 minutes of sitting in that meditation and tuning in and turning in and hearing the sounds and recognizing how much of it is your mind and how much of it is the external, and recognizing where there's projections coming towards you. You have that aspect of your spiritual work, which you've been doing for a while. So if I recall briefly, Lucretia has talked about you in the past. No, and really, really like touching on knowing you more than any deep personal stuff. So it's more like, so I do recognize the connection, and I was recalling that she's been speaking with you quite frequently. So anyway, so I just it's a slow process, because it's you've got to shed the armory, you've got to shed the old story, and that takes time, because it's in place for a reason. our masculine and our projections, oopsie, wrong way of the card, you know, all of these voices in our head, they're there for a reason and they keep us safe, you know. But once we recognize that they're just stories that have kept us safe that don't necessarily serve us in the same way they used to, it's okay to let them go. And we say thank you to them all the time and acknowledge them for the work they've done in keeping us safe. But after a while, they don't serve us to move forward, you know. And when we do that, it starts to drop away and the softness becomes easier, you know. But it does take time. It really does take time. And I fully appreciate the challenge to do that. So yeah. And being gentle on yourself, that's the biggest one. Absolutely the biggest thing is, you know, not giving yourself a hard time for why isn't it working? It is working. It's just that there's an old part of you that's fighting for grim death to hang on to what it knows and understands. And that's okay too, you know. So cool. So does anybody else have any other questions or anything they want to share?
Yeah, probably just about the being kind to yourself. I had a real epiphany about that probably last year, maybe 6 months ago. And to the point where it was a real emotional realization of how hard I had been on myself. And I think in that 6 months since then is probably where I've softened the most, and become more feminine. I wear dresses and skirts more often now, and I used to be pants, trousers, shorts, not shorts that often, not down here in New Melbourne, but I now wear more feminine things, even though I'm not the pink frilly type, although that picture I showed you might make you think otherwise. But I still like bold colours and that kind of thing, and I love just colour in general. But I've started to see myself as more of a feminine woman, not realising how masculine I used to be. So it took a real epiphany, and a real maybe a forgiveness of myself for being so hard on myself over burnt toast, believe it or not. But it doesn't matter how it comes to you. It's just that it happens, and you realise how tough you've been on yourself and how you make yourself do things that you wouldn't make anyone else do, and you put yourself through shit so often from, you know, and it's history. It's what we've been through. It's what's made us the person that we are, but it doesn't have to be there, and it doesn't have to stay in place, that armour. So I don't know, maybe start changing the armour to crushed velvet or something, or feathers or whatever. Have a change of costume, a visual, even if it's an imagination type of thing, an imaginary visual. Change your coat of armour to a coat of feathers or a coat of velvet or something feminine.
There's something interesting actually that came to me while you were talking, Jodie. I started to have this visualization, Tara, of this concept of, you know, the softness of whatever it is you're choosing to wear, you know, even if it's just around the house, in the privacy of your home, the feminine softness can happen. And that eventually, when you become more solid and confident with it, it naturally will emanate outwards, you know, towards doing that. You're wearing softer, nicer, different types of clothes as you go out to different events, and bit by bit it actually does start to it shifts, you know. It's a slow process. And I think one of the things about the Aries energy that is probably so challenging for you is you want to do it all now, and it's got to be done fast and quickly, because there's no time to waste, you know. And that's a huge challenge, because this is, you know, we're being told not to rush this, turn in, and, you know, and have a look at what's going on in here, and then let it emanate outwards, because it has its own energy once it starts to emanate outwards, and that's okay, you know. And that being super hard on ourselves, being super challenged and full of that intense, you know, come on, I've got a deadline, I want to do this now, you know. That's that mass push, you know, warrior energy. And it's not a wrong energy. I think actually what would be really powerful for you, Tara, is to probably look into what's the feminine aspect of Aries, because there is one. There is one.
I
There's a
like
shadow. Look into the feminine aspect of Aries. It'll be really powerful for you to go ahead and do that and find out what is it that is the soft side of Aries. And usually it's the stuff that the Aries are, afraid of. And that's okay too, because that's our shadow aspect,
Mm.
So, and I think that could be really cool for you to look into. So,
Thank you. Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion.
yeah. And that will help you bring together the two components of Aries that has such a big picture of your world. And also to look at what's in your Venus in your chart as well. Have a look at that. Okay. And I know that you've got Moon in Aries, but your Venus, where's Venus? Okay. Have a look at where Venus is for you. And that'll be really cool opportunity to know what aspects of the softness that can come in that are natural for you. Because once you know where Venus is, you look at the feminine aspect of Venus too, and then have a look at where your Mars is, and have a look at the feminine aspect of where your Mars is too. You can start to see it and use it, because these are all tools that we can use to bring towards us and recognize. And once we start to read, it's like, oh my God, I can put more of this around the house, or I can put more of that. I can wear that. I can do this. I can use that. I like that color. That's easy, So. Cool. Well, this is pretty exciting. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today.
Yay.
So I'll post this up on my website and put it out there. So we've got just a little bit over the half-hour time frame, which is perfect. And whoever wishes to join us next month, brilliant. We'll see you then. Thank you very much for having me and letting me into your home and coming along. Yay!
Yay!
Bye,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.